A journey up the Yanert.
By 7 a.m., we were on our skis, soaring down from the trailhead to the Yanert River. The snow lay soft and deep, untouched except for the winding trail that snaked through the valley. My skis whispered over the packed path, the rhythm of my glide in tune with the hushed stillness of the wilderness. Ahead, Gale wove through the willows, moving with lithe energy. The morning had been foggy, but not in a gloomy way. The clouds played with the light, shifting and swirling, casting a soft glow over the landscape. A delicate ice fog hung in the air, clinging to the trees and willows, frosting the world in an ethereal shimmer. It was the kind of morning that felt quiet, but alive, like the land itself was holding its breath. I decided to take a break, stopping on the ice itself. I set out a caribou hide and prepared my cook stove. I collected fresh water from a nearby stream, heating it for coffee. The steam curled into the crisp air as I ate. Eggs, coffee, and a brownie. The world felt still, yet in motion. The shifting light turning the snow into something almost dreamlike. Yet the weatherman had promised full sun, and I hoped for the sun. That's why we started so early to beat the heat. Again, on our feet, skiing up the Yanert River, gliding over its frozen, snow-covered surface. I skied into a river braid, or so I thought, not paying much attention. Then I kept traveling north. This is not the Yanert. Out my map came. This is Dean Creek. This wasn't a braid. Curious, I stopped, scanning the landscape and the map. A trail stretched ahead, one I hadn't expected to find. Instead of turning back, I wanted to see where it led. So nice a trail and recently laid. I dropped my Polk sled, a blue sled with a red bag, just before reaching a bend in the creek. The air felt different here, the snow packed by previous travelers. Gale darted ahead, ears pricked, as if sensing the shift in direction. We were no longer on the wide, open river. We were following something unknown. We moved deeper into Dean Creek, leaving the ice bridges behind as the valley began to widen. The frozen creek still twisted beneath us, but the sharp turns and broken ice shelves grew less frequent. The trail climbed ever so gently, not enough hardly to notice. To the left, gentle cliffs rose in a pattern, only 5 to 15 meters high at first, but repeating, step by step, growing ever taller as we moved up the valley. Snow clung to their slopes, blanketing the ground and the willows, alders, and scattered spruce that somehow managed to root themselves over the landscape. The land stacked itself in layers, a quiet reminder of time moving in its own slow way. Gale caught the scent before I saw it. In an instant, she surged forward, pulling harder, a sudden burst of energy driving her up the trail. I looked up and around, searching for what had excited her. I felt like I was flying, pulled through the air by the wind itself. On one of these ridges, a moose moved through the willows. From this distance, it was nothing more than a small dot against the vastness of the land. Like me, I thought, big yet really small out here. To the right, a vertical wall loomed over us. Dark stone rising in jagged formations. Massive rocks jutted outward, stacked high, creating a shadowed corridor through which the trail ran. Above, wind-scoured ridges stood like frozen waves, untouched and unreachable. Then, out of the silence, came the distant hum of engines. 2 snow machiners rounded a bend, and we all looked up in surprise. "Didn't expect to see anybody out here," I said. I asked about the trail, curious where it might lead. One of them nodded up the valley. "Oh, it goes on for some ways," he said, as if that explained everything. He gestured vaguely ahead. Goes up and over. Then he added, went to the very end. The words lingered in my mind. There was an end to this trail, but we didn't know where that was. We chatted a little longer before they continued on, engines rumbling into the distance. The valley fell silent once more, leaving just me, Gale, and the smooth, unbroken trail stretching ahead. Leaving the valley floor, Gale and I ascended beyond the tree line, aiming for the saddle that beckoned above. The trail steepened, and the protective embrace of the forest gave way to open expanses of snow and rock. The air grew thinner, cooler in the shadow of another mountain, and the vastness of the landscape unfolded around us. As we climbed, I noticed moose tracks imprinted in the snow, leading higher into the barren heights. It puzzled me. What could a moose be doing up here? There was no food, no shelter. The valley below offered trees, protection, sustenance. Yet here were the unmistakable signs of its passage, a testament to the mysteries of wildlife behavior. Reaching the saddle, I paused to take in the panorama. The surrounding mountain peaks came into view, each revealing itself in majestic succession. Below, the landscape opened into a vast U-shaped valley, carved meticulously by the relentless force of the Woods River. The sheer scale of it was humbling, a reminder of nature's enduring artistry. A thought tugged at me to descend the other side, to follow the trail to its elusive end. I even began to ski down, driven by curiosity, but prudence prevailed. I realized that without my polk sled, without the essentials, tent, cooker, food, venturing further would be unwise. The descent would mean an arduous climb back, and daylight was waning. I resolved to return better prepared, with the necessary gear to explore this path fully. Now, at least, I knew what awaited. Turning back, Gale and I retraced our steps toward our sled, our mobile sanctuary. The journey downhill was exhilarating. Gale dashed ahead, her energy infectious, and I reveled in the swift descent. At Dean Creek, I knelt to cup the clear, cold water in my hands, savoring its purity. The afternoon sun cast a warm glow, though it began its descent, casting elongated shadows in the valley. Back at the Pulak sled, I set up the cooker to prepare hot water for Gale and gave her some food. Resting in the remaining hour of direct sunlight before we rejoined the Yanert River, continuing with our initial idea to venture upstream. The Yanert River widened into an expansive glacial bed, a vast open space of rock and ice. We followed a snow machine track for a few miles before it slowly faded. By 6:30 p.m., with lights still plentiful in the sky, and having skied 45 miles, I decided it was time to settle in. No need to ski until dark when there was so much daylight left. Alpenglow painted the world pink and blue in the northwest. We camped near a small stream, collected water, and made our evening meal. Gale ate beef and kibble. I ate beef and noodles. I woke up with a crick in my neck. My head been in some contorted position, sleeping all night. Not desiring to put my pants on inside my small tent, I put my foam sit pad outside and resolved to stand up and put my pants on. Placing the foam pad outside, it promptly blew in the wind, resulting in me chasing it with bare feet in my long johns. Good morning, sunshine. The wind blew steadily from the south, sometimes shifting southeast depending on which valley we passed. It wasn't fierce, not the kind that howls, but a quiet, persistent force, shaping everything in its path. After the first mile, we spotted a cabin tucked into the woods. A large white flag waved high from a tree, marking its location. As we drew near, fresh tracks surrounded the cabin. A rifle rested in the snow, and 4 chainsaws sat on a table. Yet No snow machine was in sight. Whoever was here had taken it into the woods to work. That explained the distant vroom I'd heard earlier in the morning. Another human was nearby. A moose hide and carcass lay frozen outside, waiting for the spring thaw to take its course. Gale and I continued up the Yanert. There were no more tracks ahead of us, just open riverbed and snow. The first few miles were rough. Snow had settled gently over the rocks, disguising them just enough to catch my skis and send me stumbling forward. I winced at the thought of my once pristine skis scraping over stone. But should I turn back just to protect them? I kept moving forward. Soon we passed beyond the rocky riverbed and found ourselves skiing across vast expanses of overflow ice, smooth and sprawling across the glacial basin. Snow sat on top of this, about 4 to 5 inches deep, hiding the ice beneath. The tip of my ski pole struck hard, tapping against ice rather than stone. The mountains towered around us, and with each step closer to the head of the river, they felt even larger. With the massive crick in my neck, I tilted my head left to take in their grandeur. And when I wanted to look right, I just flicked my eyes over. Couldn't turn my head much. No need to worry, though. I was skiing both directions. I'd see everything eventually. There were a few water crossings, but none too dangerous. The worst risk was getting wet up to the ankles if we broke through. I took particular joy in one crossing, just a thin layer of ice, maybe 1/8 of an inch thick, resting over a shallow stream. "Let's see what happens," I said to Gale, stepping onto it. Water began to flow through a small hole near my ski. Gale wasn't amused. She planted her paws in the snow and refused to follow. "It's not that deep," I said. I slid onto the ice with my skis, shifting my weight slightly as I moved forward. But I was attached to Gale, and she held firm, stopping me from continuing any further. I leaned back, shifting my weight again, urging her to come along and watching the ice crack beneath me. She hesitated. The ice beneath me broke into large fragments. My boots sank just enough to send water sloshing over the toe box, but no real harm done. Gale, realizing I wasn't drowning, stepped onto the ice and walked across without a second thought. Up the river we pressed, eyes set on the riverhead. But over the glacier lay a stubborn cloud, clinging to it all day. The glacier itself remained hidden beneath snow and cloud, just a white expanse blending into the sky. Sometimes we caught glimpses of its shape. As the snow deepened, Gale plowed the way, forging our path forward. After some time, I looked around and thought, we're close enough. The rock piles ahead marked a good place to turn back. We took pictures. Gale ate a fish. I ate a cheese stick. We sipped tea standing in silence beneath the towering peaks. As we skied back down from the tree line, I searched for my tracks, expecting a clear and speedy path to follow. But they were nearly gone, erased by the wind, merely distinct lines in the snow. Well, at least the wind wasn't in our faces anymore. With each passing mile, the landscape was changing. The wind, mild yet relentless, had stripped the valley bare. Where my tent had been pitched, once covered in soft snow, now lay exposed as dusty gray gravel and silt. I had definitely chosen a nice, windy place to camp, apparently. Harumph. I wanted to get back to the protected area near Dean Creek, so I belted onto my pole and pushed onward. That's when we stumbled upon a surprise. The Yanert River and its glacial bed were nearly bare. The snow was mostly gone, revealing slick ice and scattered driftwood. The only thing left was the packed snow machine trail, a single white ribbon cutting through a world of gray and brown. I marveled at the change. What had been a winter wonderland just hours ago was now raw, exposed to earth, not by a storm, not by fierce gusts, but by a steady, persistent wind that worked quietly all day. Then, just ahead, our trail faded entirely. For about 15 minutes, we had no choice but to pull the sled on bare rocks, picking our way across the exposed riverbed. I stepped carefully, the pulk dragging over uneven stones. Then slowly, the snow began to thicken on the track. Once again, a sliver of snow, just enough to ski again. Then, as we rounded a bend, the world transformed once more back to winter wonderland, just beyond the reach of the wind. The trail firmed up beneath us. Gale surged forward. So we ran, and ran. We were having fun, so we ran and ran into the sunset and into the colors of the coming night. At a creek, I laid on my chest to collect water. I considered setting up camp there, but thought, why not climb a little high up off the river for warmth? I boiled water, then thought again. We're just a few miles from the car. Might as well go all the way. After another 45-mile day, we reached the car, ate our food, and fell asleep under the stars. We live in a beautiful world,